Hello. Our project is an environmental analysis of trail development at Thurston Hills Natural Area. Willamalane Parks and Recreation District has a 20-year management plan for this area that calls for a baseline monitoring tool that will be used to evaluate how development impacts vegetation, wildlife, and hydrology. We used a wildlife camera and bird, plant, and slope surveys to conduct our research. We mapped native and invasive plants along the undeveloped trails and used GIS to determine which areas were ecologically sensitive. Using this information, we gave feedback to Willamalane on suggested improvements to trail design. This research will advance Willamalane's management goals for Thurston Hills Natural Area.
The Thurston Hills Natural Area is located in Springfield, Oregon, and covers 665 acres of land that offers a diversity of landscapes. The site was purchased by the Willamalane Parks and Recreation District back in 2006 when the previous owners decided to sell. This area has habitats that are rare to see in the Willamette Valley: prairies, grasslands, woodlands, and oak savannas. Willamalane wishes to preserve these target habitats while also creating a new system of trails that will encompass about 14.5 miles of trail for the surrounding communities to enjoy nature at. However, trails and human traffic can have many adverse impacts to conservation goals. Careful consideration of how wildlife, invasive species spread, and habitat conservation will be impacted is required. For these reasons, establishing baseline conditions and monitoring protocols was important for our group to accomplish for Willamalane to be able to track positive and negative impacts over time.
For our methodology, we conducted several baseline surveys within the site. Plant surveys were conducted along each trail with a focus on showy native flowers as well as prominent invasive species in the area. For each occurrence of these species, the number of individuals in the population was estimated along with the area and density of the population. The points were marked with GPS waypoints. Slope was recorded along each trail for each segment of observable continuous grade. At each change in grade, a GPS waypoint was marked and observers would point clinometers from eye level to eye level from the beginning to the end of each segment, and percent slope was recorded. Wildlife camera locations were determined based on animal tracks, stream locations, game trails, and probable grazing locations. Cameras were moved every 2 to 3 weeks to cover all trails within the site. Baseline photo point monitoring was done to track erosion and vegetation changes with the introduction of trails. Camera points were identified as areas of potential erosion, social trails, or changes in vegetation. GPS points were recorded and baseline photos were taken to be compared with future data collection. Bird point counts were conducted during peak breeding season and active hours for migratory and native birds within the site. Observers stood at fixed points for 10 minutes and recorded each unique sighting or bird call they identified. Points were spaced a minimum of 30 meters apart to ensure unique and abundant data points.
From our slope surveys, we determined which parts of the trails would be most susceptible to erosion and where this could be avoided by installing barriers, such as culverts. The first graph depicts the percent slopes of trails 1 and 5. Using our plant survey data, we mapped the parts of the trail containing sensitive native species and aggressive invasive species. This will inform Willamalane of where attractive native species are located along the trail and where invasives will need to be managed. The first map is of points along trails 4 and 5 that contain native and invasive plant species. Our photo point data will be used by Willamalane to view changes to the trails over time. This will help inform them of when and where social trails, dog activity, and invasive species are negatively impacting the trails. The second map is of the photo points we took along Trail 1. Inset is an example of one of these photo points. Conducting bird point counts and implementing wildlife cameras informed us of the bird and large mammal species in Thurston Hills Natural Area that may be negatively affected by trail development and may also attract visitors to the site. The result of our research will be a dynamic monitoring tool which Willamalane Parks and Recreation District will use to ensure the long-term sustainability of trail development at Thurston Hills Natural Area.
In conclusion, some of the limitations we faced were having a limited amount of time in the field, a short window to collect wildflower data, and not being able to fully collect data on Trail 4 because of safety concerns. However, we found that once the trails are developed, the potential for social trails and humans to act as vectors for invasive plant species will increase substantially. We hope that the protocols and baseline conditions we designed will allow Willamalane to improve the trail design and protect the target habitats at the Thurston Hills Natural Area.